Hey guys, welcome back to another electronics tutorial. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to use sensors in an Arduino. First, let us start off by making the simple light sensor circuit. So I have our default Arduino set up over here. And then we can bring in an LED, and let's bring in a resistor for the LED, and we can make it 330 ohms. And we can plug in the negative terminal from the LED to the ground through the resistor. And the positive terminal of the LED, we can plug that into one of our GPIO pins. Now let's go down where it says photoresistor, which is also known as the light resistor. Let's plug this in. And as you can see, it has two different terminals, so it doesn't matter which side is positive or negative. So let's bring in a resistor, and we can plug this in to the ground from one of the terminals. And the other end needs to be to the positive. And similar to how we connected the push button in the last video, we're going to take the terminal from the resistor and we're going to take it to one of the analog pins. We do this so that even when there's zero resistance from this light resistor, the current from the 5 volts is directly not sent to the Arduino, but instead is sent to the ground first through the resistor. And now we can start writing the code for the circuit. We can start off by creating a variable for the resistance from the light sensor. And we can set it to be 0 by default. And now we can start with the void setup loop. And we need to set the pin mode of the LED and the sensor. We're also going to use the serial monitor, which is over here, which basically prints out information for us. And we need to do that by first initializing it in the setup loop. And we can do that by typing in serial.begin. And we need to give a number, and the default number we use is 9600. And now we can start with the void loop. And first we need to read the value from the light sensor. And we can do that by saying light val equals, and we can use an analogRead command. And now with this light val value, let's first print it to the serial monitor, and we can do this by typing in serial.println, which means print line, so that every time you print new stuff, it prints on to the next line. And in brackets, we can put in whatever we want to print. And in this case, it's the light val. And now, we need to write the following command. Instead of digital write for LED, we're going to use analog write this time. And it's in pin number 7. And the one thing to note here is that we can't just put light val in here, because light val is going to be a value between 0 and 1024. But for the LED and analog write commands, you need a value between 0 and 255. And in order to do that, we're going to use the map function. So we need to map the light val, which is in a range from 0 to 1023, to a range of 0 to 255. And now we can close the brackets. And essentially, what this is doing is scaling down the number from the light val to a value which is between 0 and 255. And now let's add a delete command in here to save system resources. And also one thing to make sure is that whenever we're using analog write for our LED, we have to make sure that the pin number has a line in front of it. Because the pin numbers without the line won't actually do an analog write command. So now we can go back to the code and change the pin number over here to 6. And over here as well. And now we can start the simulation. And we can select the sensor. And we can adjust the value over here. And as you can see, when there's more light, the LED grows brighter. Now, let's build another circuit using the temperature sensor. So first, we can search here for the temperature sensor. And we can bring in this one. And now, as you can see, it has the ground, the power, and the one where it says V out. That's the pin where you connect to the analog pins. Now that I'm done connecting the temperature sensor, let's bring in 3 different LEDs and connect them all. Now that I've connected the 3 LEDs, to the Arduino along with the 330 ohm resistors, let's start writing the code. We can start by naming some variables, and we'll see later why do we exactly need them. And now we can start off with a void setup loop. And we need to assign the pin modes for the three of the LEDs, the temperature sensor, and let's also begin the serial monitor. So now that I've finished setting up the variables and the pin modes, we can start off with the main void loop. Firstly, we're going to be taking in the value from the temperature sensor, and we're going to do some calculations to convert it into a Celsius number. So basically, what this line of code does is that it reads the value and subtracts 20 and multiplies it by this number. And now we have a value that's between 0 and 1024. And then we're going to map it to a value that's between negative 40 and 125, because that's what the Celsius values are. And now let's print this value to the serial monitor first. Now we can compare the temperature and turn on each of the LEDs based on what the temperature is. We can do that by doing an if statement. And now that I've written the if statements, we can add a delete command to save some system resources and make this more efficient. And now we're done with the code. So basically what this is doing is, if the temperature is negative, then the first LED is turned on, which is number 4. And if it's between 0 and 100, then the second one, number 5, is turned on, which is this one. And if it's more than 100, then the last LED is turned on. And actually, I can switch the values over here to make them be in line. And now we can start simulation, and we can adjust the temperature to see how the LEDs change. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next one.